Amber Dubois was born on October 25, 1994, in Escondido, California. She was the daughter of Carrie McGonigal and Maurice Mo Dubois. From an early age, Amber was known for her intelligence, strong will, and deep love for animals, particularly wolves. Her fascination with nature and literature set her apart as a thoughtful and inquisitive child. Amber was described as a quiet, introverted, and kind-hearted girl who preferred books and animals over large social gatherings. She had a strong independent streak and was deeply passionate about writing and reading, especially loved fantasy novels. She was a big fan of authors like J.R.R. Tolkien, J.K. Rowling, and Christopher Paolini. She dreamt of working in wildlife conservation. Her love for animals was reflected in her involvement in school programs and her desire to one day work in an animal sanctuary. Amber attended Escondido High School in Escondido, California, where she was a freshman in 2009. She was known to be a dedicated student who excelled in her studies, particularly in English and science. She was also involved in extracurricular activities that aligned with her love for literature and animals. On the morning of February 13, 2009, Amber left her home to walk to Escondido High School. She was supposed to receive a check that day to buy a lamb for the Future Farmers of America program at her school, something she had been looking forward to. Amber's path to school was a familiar route that normally brought her home by 2:45 p.m. every day. Her family was used to the predictable rhythm of her routine. But on that particular Friday, something went terribly wrong. When 2:45 came and went without Amber's return, initial irritation turned to concern. Dave, her mother's boyfriend, decided to check the school for any sign of her. A teacher informed him that Amber had not attended classes that day. The disbelief began to harden into fear. The last reported sighting of Amber placed her walking with her hood pulled up against the light drizzle. Carrie McGonigal and Mo Dubois, Amber's parents, quickly mobilized, canvassing the neighborhood, knocking on doors, calling out for her. Hours passed without answers, and the growing unease culminated in a call to the police. Amber was officially reported missing. Escondido police launched a search effort, scouring the area around the high school and retracing Amber's typical route. Friends, neighbors, and community members came together to help, distributing flyers and joining search parties that combed through nearby avocado groves, the hillsides, and the dry creek beds. Search and rescue teams expanded their efforts to include a nearby canyon, a rugged, wild stretch of land that could easily conceal a missing person. In the days that followed, the story of Amber Dubois rippled through the community.
Thanks for having Amber in your prayers.
When words can't describe how a family is feeling, sometimes hope is all you have.
All these lit candles and stuff, hopefully it's going to be lighting Amber's way home.
Maurice Dubois' 14-year-old daughter Amber disappeared a week ago while walking to school.
Any sign that you can give us to where you're at, anything, please come home.
Amber's entire family was here tonight, along with both of her grandmothers.
In all my life, I never thought I would go through something like that. And I don't wish that to my worst enemy. We're going to find her, are we? We're going to find her.
200 people prayed for the girl, who doesn't sound like your typical runaway. Amber loves to ride horses and read books. She doesn't wear makeup. She doesn't have a boyfriend. And her best friend swears she didn't run away.
She's spontaneous and courageous, but not the kind of person that would leave her family like that. There's something wrong.
And that's why this story is becoming so hard to tell. Despite thousands of flyers posted throughout the city and a growing search effort, her family is starting to fear the worst.
I think someone's taken her. She's loved too much just to take off.
Neither does her mother, who says if Amber was abducted, she's got a fighting chance.
She will make sure whoever it is, she'll drive them up a wall. But she's a survivor. I don't think in my heart, I don't think she's hurt. I think she's just in a bad situation she's trying to get out of.
Several witnesses came forward, one claiming to have seen Amber speaking with an older man on the morning of her disappearance. The lead, though concerning, proved difficult to verify. Months passed. The hope that had once fueled Amber's family and friends was strained, but not extinguished. Carrie and Mo became tireless advocates, keeping their daughter's name alive in the media, organizing awareness events, and seeking the public's help. Chelsea King was born on May 13, 1991, in Poway, California, into a loving family that valued education, hard work, and kindness. Her parents, Brent and Kelly King, nurtured her curiosity and determination, fostering an environment where she thrived academically and personally. She shared a close bond with her younger brother Tyler, who admired her as a role model. Family dinners were filled with thoughtful conversations, and her parents often spoke with pride about her aspirations to attend a prestigious university. Chelsea attended Poway High School, where she was known for her intelligence, dedication, and vibrant personality. Later, she enrolled at the University of San Diego, continuing to pursue her academic and personal ambitions. An avid runner and dedicated student, Chelsea was deeply committed to making a positive impact on her community. She was particularly passionate about environmental efforts and took regularly for a run to scout trails for a cleanup project. On February 25, 2010, 17-year-old Chelsea went for a run at Rancho Bernardo Community Park in San Diego, California. She intended to assess the area for an upcoming environmental cleanup project with friends. Her parents expected her home by 5:30 p.m., but as the evening wore on with no sign of her, concern grew. Brent King contacted AT&T to track her phone, which last pinged near the park. He rushed to the location, discovering her car in the parking lot with her school clothes and purse inside. Remembering that Chelsea had previously fainted while running, he feared she had fallen and hurt herself. He sprinted down the trail, calling her name, but as night fell with no sign of her, he and Kelly called 911. Chelsea's disappearance launched a massive search effort, with family, friends, and community members rallying to find her. Just days into the investigation, searchers discovered a piece of clothing along the southern shoreline of Lake Hodges. The item, initially unidentified publicly, was soon confirmed by Chelsea's mother as her daughter's underwear. This grim discovery deepened the fear of foul play, but her parents continued to cling to the hope that Chelsea might still be found alive. The FBI and local authorities intensified their efforts, bringing sonar equipment to assist divers in searching the lake. On land, horseback searchers scoured rugged trails, and tracking dogs combed the area. The shoreline of Lake Hodges, stretching approximately 14 miles, became the focal point of the investigation. While the search persisted, forensic scientists at a state crime lab conducted an analysis of the underwear found near Lake Hodges. They detected a sample of semen, and a DNA profile was generated. When processed through national criminal databases, the DNA matched that of John Albert Gardner III, a convicted sex offender with a history of predatory behavior. John Albert Gardner III had a deeply troubled upbringing marked by instability and unresolved psychological issues. Born on April 9, 1979 in California, Gardner's early years were characterized by a fractured family dynamic. His parents' tumultuous relationship often left him caught in the middle, contributing to his volatile behavior. Childhood neighbors recalled a withdrawn, unpredictable boy who seemed to struggle with social interactions. His mother, Kathy Osborne, a psychiatric nurse, sought psychiatric help for Gardner early on. At age 6, he was placed on psychiatric medication, and by age 10, he was held in a psychiatric hospital for 60 days due to his increasingly erratic behavior. Diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and labeled as seriously emotionally disturbed, Gardner's struggle to maintain emotional stability was evident from a young age. Despite his difficulties, John managed to graduate from Rim of the World High School in Lake Arrowhead, California, in 1997, achieving a 3.2 GPA and demonstrating an IQ of 113. However, his academic achievements did little to curb his violent tendencies. Throughout his teenage years, John's disciplinary issues escalated, resulting in multiple school suspensions, altercations with peers, and early run-ins with law enforcement. He exhibited manipulative behavior, deflected blame for his actions, and displayed a disturbing fascination with control. By adulthood, John's predatory behavior became disturbingly clear. In 2000, at the age of 21, he was convicted for inappropriate conduct with a 13-year-old neighbor in Rancho Bernardo. The girl had skipped school that day, and Gardner lured her into his home under the pretense of watching the movie Patch Adams. When she sat on the couch, Gardner attempted to take advantage of her, and when she resisted, he physically assaulted her, leaving her bruised and unwell. Despite being assessed as a high risk for reoffending by a psychologist, Gardner received a 6-year sentence, but served only 5. His time in prison showed minimal signs of genuine rehabilitation, as he often deflected responsibility for his actions. After his release, Gardner was registered as a sex offender, but his parole supervision was inconsistent. Reports emerged of him violating parole conditions, living too close to schools, interacting with minors, and missing mandatory counseling sessions.
We have disturbing new information this morning about the suspect in the disappearance of 17-year-old Chelsea King. 10 years ago, John Gardner pled guilty to molesting a 13-year-old girl. Now, police believe he may be linked to other violent crimes. Early Show national correspondent Hattie Kaufman has the story.
Though hundreds of searchers are looking for high school senior Chelsea King, it appears less likely they'll find her alive. Registered sex offender John Albert Gardner has been arrested on suspicion of rape and murder in Chelsea's disappearance and will be arraigned Wednesday.
I will say that they are literally moving heaven and earth to find this little girl.
Some of Chelsea's clothing was found, and authorities say DNA evidence on the clothing led them to Gardner. It was Thursday afternoon. Chelsea went for a run in this county park. Her parents called police when she didn't return home. Chelsea's car was found at the park, her phone and iPod inside.
She was such a good student. She always did her best. She was a really sweet little girl.
The kids are just beside themselves. They love Chelsea like a sister.
Gardner was staying in this townhome very near the park. Police say another female jogger was assaulted there in December. Going further back, authorities are now investigating Gardner in the disappearance of 14-year-old Amber Dubois, who vanished last year. Gardner lived just 6 minutes from where Dubois was last seen. Hattie Kaufman, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The jogger who was attacked came forward. Her name is Candace Moncayo and shared her harrowing experience from December, just 2 months before Chesley's disappearance. While running along a familiar trail, she was attacked by John Gardner. Candace recalled how he tackled her to the ground.
Where were you when you were attacked?
I was at Lake Hodges. I was going for a run, and I was just about to finish it. I was inside of the house. In the morning, about 10:30.
Do you live in the San Diego area?
I don't. My family does, and I was home for Christmas break.
Yes. So what happened there?
Well, I was
It's morning,
coming.
it's light out.
It's
nice
morning,
day.
it's light out. It was a beautiful day. I've been passing people the entire time, and I was coming up to the end of the trail and was inside of the houses, and I noticed a man who was walking towards me, and I noticed him because he was not dressed in workout clothes, but he was so close to the houses that I just assumed that he, was a resident going for a walk because the day was so beautiful. And he waited until we were next to each other and then tackled me and threw me to the side of the trail. and he...
Nobody around?
Nobody around, no. But the trail had been so populated that in my mind I just kept thinking that I only needed to fight for a little while because the trail was so populous.
With a bright day and a populated trail, he's taking a risk, right?
He was. He was.
Did you scream?
Oh, like crazy at the top of my lungs. He actually, he told me to shut up when I was screaming, and I told him no.
Did he have a weapon?
He didn't, no.
Well, so he, by force of strength?
Yes, yes. He's the man who attacked me is a very large man. He's very large.
Did he fully rape you?
No, he didn't. He didn't rape me at all.
What did he do?
No. He threw me down onto the ground, and he pinned me to the ground, and like I said, I was screaming, and he said, shut up, and I said no. And he said, he told me to shut up again, and I said no. And then I said, well, you're going to have to kill me first, because I thought that he was trying to rape me. And he said, that can be arranged. And there was a small moment of silence, and then there was some intervening conversation that I'm not comfortable discussing. And at one point he picked me up by my shoulders and he started shaking me the way that you're not supposed to shake a child. And I managed to get one hand on the ground, my left hand, and I took my right elbow and I bashed him in the nose. And he grabbed his face and turned away from me and yelled some things, and I got up and I ran faster than I think I've ever run in my life.
Did you come up upon someone?
No, I had to run to a house.
And there was someone home at the house?
There was, yeah. They were very kind.
Where did the person who attacked you go?
I looked back over my shoulder once, and he had left the trail and was kind of heading over a small hill that was to the left of the trail from the position that I was taking.
In your mind, was he going to rape you?
At the time, that was my first thought.
Did you report it right away?
Absolutely. I called the police from the people's houses that I knocked on the door at.
And then when you saw what happened to Chelsea King, you had to immediately react to that, right?
You know, I actually didn't see it. I'm kind of embarrassed to put this on television, but I don't have cable. And so I found out, I know. So I found out through my family that something had happened. And to be honest, my first response was one of great fear and great anxiety, and at the same time great hope that they were not connected.
Why do you think you weren't raped?
I think I wasn't raped for a couple of reasons. One, because I fought back. Two, because I come from a background that has prepared me in some ways for that kind of a situation. And three, the grace of God.
Background how?
My father is actually a 5-time world champion kickboxer, and so I've been in martial arts for most of my life. And while I can't claim that any kind of training was responsible for it.
But you got that thing in the nose.
I did get him in the nose, but more than that, I think that there's an awareness that comes with those kinds of things.
The conversation that you won't reveal, and we're not going to ask you to even go near it, was, I imagine, crude.
Yes. And not... Yeah, I would suppose that would be a good way to put it.
The identification of John was initially kept confidential among law enforcement to prevent public panic and protect the integrity of the investigation. After the DNA match confirmed, the FBI and local authorities prepared to apprehend John. On February 28, 2010, Gardner was apprehended at a bar in Escondido following a match between DNA evidence found near Chelsea King's abandoned car, the discovery of the semen on Chelsea's undergarment, and his registered DNA profile was undeniable proof of John's connection to her disappearance. Initially denying involvement, John's demeanor during questioning fluctuated between defiance and indifference. John Gardner faced charges for the murders of Chelsea King and Amber Dubois. During the hearings, prosecutors presented compelling evidence tying Gardner to the crimes, including DNA evidence that linked him to Chelsea King's assault and murder. John pleaded not guilty, but as the evidence against him mounted, his legal team entered discussions with prosecutors to avoid a potential death penalty. A significant moment came when John unexpectedly admitted to murdering Amber Dubois, whose disappearance had remained unsolved for over a year. He led investigators to the remote location where he had buried her body, a rugged, isolated area near Pala, California, about 10 miles from Escondido. The site was so remote that it would have been nearly impossible to discover without John's guidance. On March 6, 2010, authorities recovered Amber's skeletal remains at the location John had described. To determining the exact cause of death was challenging, but it was clear that she had been a victim of violence. John admitted to abducting Amber as she walked to school, assaulting her, and ultimately killing her.
What is your plea? Guilty.
Sex offender John Gardner has pleaded guilty to killing 2 teenage girls from the San Diego area. The 31-year-old agreed to enter the pleas in the deaths of 17-year-old Chelsea King and 14-year-old Amber Dubois.
Accepting this plea has been an extremely difficult decision. We have the evidence to pursue a murder charge against the defendant for Chelsea's murder, but not for Amber's murder.
In exchange for the pleas, prosecutors will not seek the death penalty. Amber vanished more than a year ago, and the investigation produced few solid leads. That is, until Chelsea disappeared last February near the site where Amber went missing. Gardner was arrested 3 days later and initially pleaded not guilty to murdering Chelsea. But prosecutors say he was linked to the crime by DNA found on the teen's clothing. He now faces life in prison without parole.
John, since I learned of your arrest for Chelsea's murder, I refuse to speak your name. I have called you monster, sociopath, serial killer, animal. You are all of those things. In my view, until today, you did not deserve a name because your acts were not human. But as I thought about what I was going to say today, I realized that names like monster and animal, in a perverse way, let you off the hook. You know what you were doing when you chose to corner Chelsea. You could have prevented yourself from committing this crime. You had plenty of lucid moments after you viciously beat the 13-year-old girl 10 years ago. You knew who you were and what you were capable of.
You've stolen from a magnificent 13-year-old boy, his magnificent sister, and his ever-present best friend. You've stolen future memories he would have made with her, but never the precious memories he already has. That he should be deprived of a future without his sister is cause enough for you to burn in hell. You sabotaged his trust in the world around him. You robbed him of his mental and emotional security. You dismantled a family life that was built on love, trust, and faith. But you did not destroy it. Look at me. Why am I not surprised?
Now, with our last hope for justice, we depend on the prison community to slowly and painfully cause your remaining days on this earth to be a living nightmare.
I spent my whole life protecting my girls, and there is no way to give Allison back her older sister, her role model, her everything. There is no way to restore her sense of innocence and wonder in the world, and most of all, her sense of security. You have taken my daughter and my best friend. You have taken my youngest daughter's role model and her innocence. You have taken a bright, shining star from this community and our world away, and for what purpose? To serve your sick, twisted, perverted mind. Today, justice is served. I do not hold the justice system guilty. I hold you guilty. Guilty for robbing each of us of these beautiful girls.
I came here today for all of the women who have ever been victims of violence to ask, with Chelsea and Amber's voices, to remove this man from our world, to make us a little safer by locking him up permanently, and to finally free us from this nightmare that he has created. And finally, to ask him how his nose is.
she did that for publicity.
There's nothing satisfying about this moment. It's only one more unbearably painful day that we'll have to carry in our memory as long as we live.
John's prior conviction and subsequent parole violations should have warranted stricter surveillance. The realization that more could have been done to prevent these tragedies spurred public outcry, leading to the creation of Chelsea's Law, legislation designed to impose harsher penalties for violent sexual offenses against children and enforce stricter parole monitoring.
The story of Chelsea's Law, signed yesterday by California's governor and named after a San Diego teenager who was murdered while jogging near her home 7 months ago. We're going to talk to Chelsea's parents in just a moment, but first, CBS News correspondent Betty Wynn has the story. Good morning, Betty.
Good morning, Harry. Chelsea King was a beautiful and talented high school student whose life was brutally cut short by a convicted sex offender. This new law aims to make sure other predators like him are locked up for good.
Because of Chelsea, California's children will be safer. Because of Chelsea, this never has to happen again.
Putting his signature to a new law, California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger vowed to keep the most dangerous sexual offenders behind bars for life.
This could be considered a one-strike law for violent sexual predators. Judges in California will now have the power to impose a life sentence without the possibility of parole on someone with just one conviction of sexual assault of a child.
The law is named for 17-year-old Chelsea King, who was raped and murdered in February while jogging in a park near her home. John Gardner confessed to the crime and also led authorities to the body of 14-year-old Amber Dubois, missing since 2009.
The idea behind this law is to save lives, to track predators, to keep them in prison in some cases for life, in order to save the lives of other potential young victims.
Chelsea's mom thanked the governor directly.
You've helped us fulfill our dream of doing everything in our power to prevent this tragedy from ever happening to another family again.
This new law will also toughen other penalties for child molesters, including requiring lifetime parole and GPS monitoring for more serious offenders. Harry?
Chelsea King and Amber Dubois were bright, promising young women whose lives were tragically cut short, but their legacies continue to make a difference. Their families, along with the community, have turned grief into action, working tirelessly to advocate for victims' rights and public safety reforms. Their stories serve as a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the impact that a single voice can have in creating change. Though Chelsea and Amber are no longer with us, they are not forgotten. Their memories live on through the laws inspired by their stories, the foundations created in their honor, and the hearts of those who continue to fight for justice. Their cases, though heartbreaking, have strengthened a movement dedicated to keeping children safe. In remembering them, we reaffirm our commitment to a world where every child can walk home safely, free from fear.